Welcome to another episode of Mortgage Matters, every Wednesday with Team Adwar. Here's your host, Todd Adwar. All right. Good morning. It's Wednesday, 11 a.m. We're back live with another summer episode of Mortgage Matters. How are we doing today, Todd?
We are doing great, Tim. A lot of things going on in the real estate industry that we have to unpack and get to. So we'll do that during the show.
Excellent. I'm excited for this one. I've got a little bit of opinions, but let's go. There you go for the mortgage update, which is a good one.
Right. So as we always start with Mortgage Matters update, and exciting. The rates for this week, as of today, really, 30-year fixed is down to 6.52. The 15-year fixed is under 6%. Pretty exciting number.
Love the 5.98.
And remember, if you're putting down less than 20% and buying a home, the best deal out there is FHA, 6.07% on a 30-year fixed. Really phenomenal. Even the jumbos are down to 6.70. Rates are down quite a bit from last week. We see them heading down further over the next couple of weeks. I wouldn't be surprised if, middle of September, we're in the high fives. Why is that important? We'll get into that later. The second thing I wanted to talk about is that in a lot of cities where there was a tremendous amount of homes being built during the pandemic, the southern cities, things where there was a huge amount of new construction, there are now more listings in those cities than there were prior to 2017 to 2019. So they have some homes for sale, which means when there are a lot of homes for sale in an area, it means you have a real good opportunity to get an amazing deal. Now, with rates coming down and a lot of homes for sale, that's the best thing for buyers, or the best news for buyers, I guess, in the last 5 years, Tim.
Yeah.
So let's talk about what cities have what. So there are a dozen cities out of the 50 cities that they did a study on. And I think the study was done by Realtor.com, or the report came out from Realtor.com. And in these 12 cities, you can see what percentage more they have listings versus 2017 to 2019. And I'll give you an example. So Austin, Texas says 35.5%. So if they had 1,000 listings average, that means now they have 1,355 listings on average. So more houses mean price compression. Price compression means better deals for our buyers. Lower interest rates mean lower payments and better deals. If you're in any of these 12 cities, you're crazy not to be out there looking, especially if you're a first-time home buyer. Match that with down payment assistance programs that are available in all of these states, which you should call me on to discuss. Money from the state, lower prices, better rates. Why are you not out there?
That's a good combo.
Great combo, right?
Yep.
And some interesting things that came out again. So Fannie Mae announced that their air quote real estate owned, their inventory decreased 10% in quarter two of this year. So from April through June, their foreclosures that Fannie Mae has is down 10%. Why is this important? So if you could bring up the next set, Tim. When they made this report, you can see that from the all-time high in I guess it was 2010, quarter three of 2010, they're down 96%. So the amount of foreclosures that Fannie Mae has, if they had 1,000, they now have 40 versus 2010 versus 2024. That means that the real estate market is very, very healthy, folks. And it means that if you're expecting a real estate market crash, you're sadly mistaken.
Right.
It's not going to happen, because most of the buyers, still about 80% of the homeowners out there, have rates 2%, 3%, and 4%. and they're going nowhere as far as foreclosures are concerned because they have very easy payments to make. So I thought that's interesting. People are hearing, oh, the economy this, the economy that.
Yep.
Maybe the prices are going to crash. I don't think so. And then finally, for the mortgage update, the last thing we want to talk about is the amount of applications for the mortgage industry has surged. So what does that mean? It means that obviously people are getting the word that not only is it a good time to purchase, but it's time if you close the loan, Tim, if you bought a house from say middle of 2022 through last month, it's time to call us up and look towards refinancing. I had somebody who got a no income check loan. They were at 10%.
Yeah.
I just got them from 10%, still a no income check, to 7.25%.
That's big.
It was $1 million loan. They're saving $2,000 a month.
Beautiful.
Not bad. And we're also back to paying off credit card debt. I had a lady with a 4.875% rate. She was in FHA. We left her in FHA. She's getting 6.07 on her loan, as you saw.
Right.
And, she paid off $50,000 in credit cards, saved $1,800 a month because her house went up in value, and that was in Connecticut. So really, really terrific opportunities out there. So that's it for the mortgage market update. And I wanted to talk today because the new rules came into effect. What are the new rules? Yes. The new NAR rules came into effect, last Thursday, right? The day after our meeting.
Well, NAR, it's officially the 17th of August, but some states and other realtor associations have adopted it earlier and sooner. I know New Jersey did it as of the 1st of August. And
I know New York was Thursday.
Yeah, exactly.
It was Thursday. So whatever, whether it's the 17th, which is, Monday, or whether it already happened.
Yeah.
We really want to discuss what it means. So I had 3 interesting examples, Tim, of contracts in the last couple of weeks, and buyers and sellers should be aware of this. So example 1, $1 million purchase. And it was actually $1.4 million purchase. And my client called me and said, hey, the seller is not paying my commission. What do I do?
Right.
I have a $28,000 deal. $28,000 to the buyer's broker.
Yep.
And I said, we have a couple of options. You could pay it out of pocket. I could finance it into the mortgage. You could raise your purchase price to $1,428,000, and the seller can pay it. So in this particular case, he had a tremendous amount of money. He said, no problem, I'll just pay it. It's not a big deal. We had a second buyer where they were buying a house for $650,000, a one-family home, first-time home buyer. The commission to the buyer's agent was 3%. We raised it to $669,500, the purchase price, which is basically about $70, $80 more per month. And he purchased the home for $669,500 with nothing coming out of his pocket.
Right.
And then we had a third purchaser where they needed a seller's concession. So they were working on limited funds. They had a down payment assistance.
Right.
They needed a seller's concession, and we added that into the loan as well. So they had a 6% seller's concession, and they had their 2% buyer's premium to the sales agent added in. So the whole thing, all of their closing costs and the buyers. So it was $500,000. It wound up being the $10,000 commission for the buyer's agent, plus the $30,000 in closing costs. They were paying some points and buying down their rate, and it wound up being a purchase price of $540,000. And guess what? The state gave them $10,000 towards their down payment.
Wow.
Couldn't have been better. You just have to know what to ask for, know how to make it work. So
They
what are
got to
you
check
running
all the
into?
boxes.
I know you're active and you're out there. What are you running into? What type of questions are buyers asking you?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of confusion and a lot of, and I had this up before because this is, Main Street Media. This is CNN. The biggest shakeup in a century to hit the real estate agents this week. And I didn't know if I completely agree with this because I've been in real estate for 30 years. I've always disclosed when I'm taking a buyer around. Most of the time it's wrapped up in the price, and you disclose what's going on, and you're developing that relationship. And I've often gotten agreements signed. And there's sometimes I wouldn't with, close friends or family or whatever, not getting that signed. But if it's a, a Joe off the street or a referral or somebody that comes to an open house, you have to fully explain where your commission comes from and explain that even though the seller is paying your commission, you're fighting for them and you're disclosing to the seller that your uh, job, your fiduciary responsibility is to you, the buyer, because people are like, well, if you're getting paid by them, you're not working for me. So, that's in a disclosure document that we've had for a long, long time in the real estate industry. So this is not really all changing brand new stuff. If you've had an agent that never disclosed these things, it's because they were very comfortable with you. You guys were very comfortable with each other.
It's funny that you say that,
way.
Tim. 18 states have always been that 90 some odd percent of the people who went out looking at homes had a buyer's agreement.
Right.
So now it's going to be 90 some
100%.
odd percent of the people everywhere that are going to have the buyer's agreement. But
Correct.
in 18 states prior to this ruling, they
Yeah.
always had the buyer's agreement. So in those states, it's
Well,
probably still the same.
it was pretty much a disclosure of how it works. Now what NAR has had to do is remove the offering and the incentive, right? So they just disassociated the commissions with the whole thing. So just to in New York, you had a disclosure rule, right? So you had to disclose where you were getting paid from and who you were working for, and you did that immediately, and you had to have that paper signed and handed in to get paid from any real estate broker's office. So that conversation was there, but there wasn't the pressure of how am I going to get paid or what's going to go on, but that disclosure had to happen in New York and in other states. So that's why I'm saying this is not the biggest shakeup. 18 other states might have had it, as the rule, but even around here, where the disclosure of those funds or the buyers having to pay the buyer's agent, that wasn't the case last month, but this is now here. So it's just a piece of paper. I've had those conversations with people for a long, long time, and it's always been negotiable. Because, and if I just drop this down just a hair, you'll see that the way they're reporting it, Realtor Association agrees to drop the 6% commission. It has never been a standard 6% commission. There is no way anyone can say that that's price fixing, and that would have ended a long, long time ago.
I've seen 3%, 4%, 4.5%, 5.5%.
Absolutely.
I've even in some areas where the prices were extremely low, I've seen 8%. It's all over the place, and it's a joke.
It's always been negotiable, and for them to report that the Realtors Association, which is all about disclosure and fairness, they never had a policy of 6%. So this was just some erroneous.
So I want you to talk about our clients who are going to go out this weekend and drive around and see houses on their own.
Yeah,
they see some open houses, and they walk into the open houses. So there's a lot of things going on with that. I had a client call me, Tim. They were at an open house, and the realtor would not show them the house if they didn't sign a buyer's agreement with them.
Correct.
So called up a real estate attorney buddy of mine. I said, well, what do you think of that? Mm-hmm. And they said, all the buyer has to do is remind them, hey, this is an open house.
Right.
You invited me to the house. You didn't invite me to sign a commission agreement. So to all you realtors who are watching this, you cannot prevent somebody from coming into the home because they haven't signed an agreement that you're going to get a commission. You could get in a lot of trouble. Don't do that.
Yeah.
Explain what the story is. Explain that if they want to make an offer, they're going to have to do everything themselves. Explain what your value is on this particular house.
Yeah.
Make it specific to this particular home. And I don't think you're going to have problems. Be like this guy, this realtor who wasn't prepared, and get into a fight with the buyer. And then the buyer reports you to the state.
Right.
And you're losing your license because it's an open house. It's almost you're going to have to explain, well, why didn't you let this family in to see the house? What was your reasoning? We go to, the realtors are forced to go to school, and that's one of the things they're taught in those 22 and a half hours, that, hey, you got to follow specific rules. Somebody wants to see the house, you make it work.
Yes.
So
I would err on the side of a public open house that's open to the public.
Yes.
But you can, when you have conversations with your sellers, I mean, back in the COVID days and everything like this, everybody stood in the street. You signed up, you had to know and get their ID, because if someone ended up getting COVID in the collection of people that came in there, you had to report back to all the people that showed up to the house, all this kind of stuff. What I'm saying on that front is that you should have the people walking in, the public that's walking in, you should have them disclose their ID, because you don't want strangers walking through there. There's safety issues, all that kind of stuff. You want to be able to get back in touch with these people for COVID or any other reason that might come about. But the owners, most sellers, want to know who's coming in and out of their house. But you don't want to stop anybody for that kind of reason, because it is a public open house. So yeah, absolutely. On that front, you want to make that point clear. Around here, I know you're out in Long Island, but you do business all over. And I'm with Grand Lux Realty, which is primarily Westchester, but we do have Connecticut office as well. I just wanted to point out a couple of towns here, New Rochelle and Greenwich, of course. But this is still a seller's market in New Rochelle. This is where I was born and raised, in New Rochelle. And then I want to show off the inventory, which is, you were touching on that beforehand. But this inventory is still freakishly low. So it's going to be a tight market, but the rates are getting better. And that's the great sign about this, is that this is going to open up a little bit.
Right. So what we should recommend to our people, Tim, is before you go out, there are ways for you to look and see how many homes are for sale in a specific market. Keep an eye on that. If you're thinking, if you have an area, keep an eye on it. Okay, it was 50 homes. Now it's 70 homes. Okay, there's a little more flexibility here. Right. It was 60 homes, and now it's still 60 homes. Even though you're seeing these articles, hey, it's the same type market, right?
Yeah.
So you have to keep an eye on what areas are you looking at. Keep that in your mind. How many homes are listed for sale in my market? I wanted to talk about another thing that came up, different types of ownership. So obviously you buy a one-family home, that's the simplest, or 2, 3, 4 family home. That's the simplest thing to purchase. When you buy a condo or a co-op, things get a little bit more dicey. I want to tell you a story of a co-op in Freeport, Long Island. And they should really be embarrassed, this board, on what they did. And I'm going to call them out right now.
Yeah.
We had a single mom with a disabled child that wanted to buy a co-op, a 1-bedroom co-op.
Yeah.
Her purchase price was $220,000. She was putting $100,000 down. So $120,000 loan against a $220,000 loan amount. Basically a 55 loan to value. 801 credit score.
Nice.
801.
Yeah.
And a debt to income. She wanted this co-op so bad, she paid off her car,
right,
and her credit cards. So she had zero debt. I mean, that's a responsible person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Paid it off. And then she came out, and her debt to income ratio was under 35 total. So she met all of the criteria, and the co-op board declined her, and they won't tell us why. And we're trying to figure out, and we're not sure whether it was her surname, the way she looked, or the disabled child, and only buying a 1-bedroom with 2 people. We won't know because they won't say anything. But be prepared, folks. This woman was devastated. So before you go into contract on a co-op, make sure that you've met everything, and make sure that you're going to, there's a good chance you're going to get approved. We have no idea why.
Yeah.
And to do all the work, to put all of your life's energy into something, to get so excited and be crushed and have met all of the financial guidelines and
Right.
then still decline you is amazing. So this Freeport co-op, be careful if you're buying a co-op. And if you want to know what co-op it was, you can send me a email and I'll let you know. I'm really down on this building.
Well, that's unfortunate. I've owned a couple co-ops myself. I've been on the board of co-ops. It's always painful to turn people down. I wouldn't, just to play devil's advocate for the other side, they could have been upset at the current owner and not wanted to done the deal because of the current owner. It might not have been her fault. You might not hold it against her. They could be, trying to jam the current owner. And that's
you've seen that.
I don't want to put it past anyone. And I just want her to have a little bit of, a breath of reality that it could be other factors. And it could be, that they didn't like the price that he was selling it for. Maybe they think he's giving too good a deal, right? They want him to get a better price.
Huh.
Not her at all. They want him to get a better price.
All right. I didn't think of that, but even that would be disgusting. If yes. I don't like you, Tim, I want you out of my building as fast as possible. So,
well, I don't know what the price was, but if it went for 400 and they think these are worth 500, then that's the issue.
It was a pretty fair price.
Sure.
20,000 above asking.
But because co-ops have this non-disclosure availability, it could be any bunch of reasons, and that's the thing you can't discount. So I just want her to breathe easy and say, maybe it's not your fault. Maybe it's not the way you presented itself. Maybe there's other factors involved. So better luck with a better place. And
so let's talk about some of the open markets. Last week we had Melanie on, and she was talking about Florida, how flexible the Florida market is. Yes. And then we see Jacksonville, Orlando, and Tampa, North, Florida, that all have more listings now than they did. So for you folks, again, you folks who are thinking about retiring, maybe from the Northeast and moving to Florida, you don't have to get as much for your home in the Northeast because you're getting significantly better deals.
Yeah.
And if you're in a hot market, like you're in New Rochelle, and you're getting top dollar,
right,
now's the time to list your home, because Absolutely. If you're moving into any of those areas that we just discussed, hey, we're going to get a really good deal here. We're going to get the best deal on our sale, and we're going to get a really good price on our purchase.
It's classically been very hard to sell high and buy low, but this is one of the rare markets that you could do that if you're moving into one of those markets where the inventory is starting to creep up, and around here the inventory is not still on the low side, so you're still going to get a great price for your house. Great time to list it if you're moving down into those areas where that inventory is.
And then I throw in Texas. You got Austin and San Antonio and Dallas are 3 of the top 6, big cities where there's so much more listings than there were. So there's really good deals. Remember, there are so many of you that can work remotely. So living in Dallas, but your job is in New York, or living in San Antonio, but your job is in New York, does it really matter? And then Texas and Florida don't have state taxes. So if you can keep your job, you pick up state, no state taxes, and a great deal on a home. You first-time home buyers have to get out of the way you think and think more globally.
Yes.
That, there are things available. Even the Colorado market, Denver is number 3 on that list. And Denver was one of the hottest markets in the country. And those are all 3 nice markets in Denver as well. 4 nice markets where, hey, those cities are on sale now. Think about it, whether they're second homes, vacation homes. Hey, it may not be a bad idea to get a vacation home in Denver. What do you think, Tim? Yeah?
Yes. I've been to Colorado many times. The skiing out there is amazing. So I'm not afraid of Colorado at all. I love it.
So what would the advice that you would give a buyer, a first-time home buyer right now, Tim?
Well, the fact that these rates are getting more flexible and we're headed into a zone where they're going to be easing, like you said, if you bought in the last 22 months, you're looking to refinance and get into a better situation. But yeah, first time buyers, this is a great opportunity. Although we've had this inflation and the prices go up, the market is still very tight around here. And of course, I'm talking about my markets, the Northeast here, versus the rest of the country. But yeah, it's a great time to get in. There's not a lot of expansion in these markets, so when you're buying the first time houses, there's a great opportunity for you to get in there and build equity because they're just not opening up any markets around here, unlike out at the outskirts of Texas or anywhere else. So first time buyers, they're easing off the higher rates, and it's a great time to get in. So I would encourage people to jump in and do that, and that would, of course, that triggers other people to move out, move up, and that's a great thing because the buyers will be there. Because that's a lot of things, a lot of first time buyers holding off for better rates or whatever it is, or the economy to change. I mean, we know we want that, and the Fed's on the edge of a reduction, which would be great, and hopefully from this pandemic inflationary session that we've had, we start to normalize again, and the economy takes care of itself in a better fashion, and we can all feel comfortable about moving forward.
Right.
So that's going to be a good time for that.
Yeah. So, and the worst excuse I've heard is the election excuse.
Yeah.
That could be the dumbest thing I've heard come out of multiple people's mouths is I'm waiting until after the election.
Yeah.
What do you move? What if your side doesn't win? You're moving out of the country? Is that
right? That's a classic one. If they win, if she wins or he wins, I'm moving out.
Right. Okay.
Well,
all right. Well, if you're probably staying in the country, this is your time.
Right. So, for those type of people, I can't understand, because if their person doesn't win, then they obviously think everything is going to crash to nothing, and they should have sold now. So, if you're that person, whether the other person wins or not, you should be making your move now. But that's a political discussion.
So next week we're going to have Michael Kleiner, on with us. He is the best appraiser I've ever seen, and he owns Countryside Appraisal Management Services. So they do appraisals all over the country, and he's going to talk about values. He's going to talk to homeowners on how to increase the values of your home, what he gives you if you add a fireplace, what he gives you if you add a pool, what does a new kitchen mean, when to do things, when not to do things, when to sell right away without fixing anything, when to fix it up and then sell it. So
I'm looking forward to that.
He's going to come on next week. I think it's going to be a great show. And everybody, you have a great week, and we'll see you next time.
Sounds good. See you Wednesday at 11 a.m. Thanks.
Yep. Okay.
Wait. Still live.